First thing I made what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a chance on myself, right? And there'll be more of that story to follow. But my former Sergeant Major, Brett Johnson at 3rd Battalion, who I've known for years, tells a story about on his alarm clock, when it goes off in the morning, it says one shot, meaning you only get one shot at that day to make it count. And it's actually beyond that. You only get one shot at this life to make it count. And I don't want to look back in 10 years, 30 years and go, I wish I had. I want to look back and say, I'm glad I did and failed, or I'm glad I did and succeeded. But I do not want to look back and say, I wish I had. So that's what I'm going to do. First thing in 2022 is I'm going to take a shot on Yuma. I'm going to take a shot on myself. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll at least know that I did it. I tried it. I tried to take a shot on me, right? Welcome to the Leading with Vulnerability podcast. I'm your host, Yuma Barnett, and it's great to be back, and Happy New Year. I know I'm a week late on the New Year's. As most of you know, I had a little bit of an issue last week. My mom came down a few weeks ago. She got COVID, and then that led to COVID pneumonia. And my brothers and sisters and we all went out there to help her out in New Mexico. So missed last week. Sorry, apologies, couldn't get it out to you, but we're back this week, and we'll be back for the rest of the year of 2022. Hopefully, it's going to be a great year. We'll get back to having guests next week, but today I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit, and we're going to talk about gratitude. We're going to talk about reflection, and we're going to talk about preparation as we go into 2022. I can't believe it's hard to say 2022. I can't believe we're in 2022. It feels like 2000, the year 2000 was just a couple years ago. And then when you sit and do the math, it's 22 years ago. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe how fast time passes. And I really was able to, kind of reflect and think about that when I was there in New Mexico, helping take care of my mom. And we'll get into that a little bit and some of the reflections, some of the things I looked at there. But when you look back at 2021, it was difficult for a lot of people. That year was with all the pandemic stuff and adjusting to all the change that came with the pandemic and the drawdown and exit from Afghanistan. A lot of people struggling with that, struggling with purpose, struggling with their why. Why did we spend the last 20 years over there? Was it worth it? And I think I've covered it before, but yes, it was absolutely worth it. But still, 2021 wasn't the greatest of years. It's not ranking in my top 10, of my last 40. But I still had a pretty good 2021. Ended my time in the Army on December 30th of 21. Got to spend a lot of time with my family in 21, more time than I have in a long time with my military career. So 2021 wasn't all bad for me, but I am really looking forward to 2022 and seeing what it has to hold for everybody I know, my family, my kids, and just continue to watch them grow and be with them. But like I said, we're going to a little bit of gratitude, reflection, and preparation as we go into 2022. This podcast, right? Let's talk about that. Never saw myself as a podcaster, right, at any point in my life in anything I'd ever done, but I knew I had something that needed to be said. I knew people that had stories that needed to be told, and I thought this was a great way to do it. And man, has it been rewarding doing this podcast and having the conversations I've had and meeting the people I've had. And that has been great. But on top of that, the direct messages and the texts that I have got from friends, people that I haven't seen or talked to in years, people I've never met in my life, messaging me and telling me that this podcast has changed their life. In one instance, I think saved a life, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. I just want to come on here and tell some stories about some great people that I knew. I've had some spouses come on, and spouses reach out to me and thank me for the story or sharing the stories of their spouses. So it's been extremely rewarding in a way that I never thought possible. And none of it is possible without you guys out there listening. I've only been at this thing since June 30th when I had the first one with Jennifer Hartung, and it's only kind of grown since then, and it's gotten way out of control as I sit here in my bedroom studio that looks kind of like a Radio Shack from the early 90s. If you ever went into a Radio Shack when you were a kid before the Best Buys and the Amazons of the world, Radio Shack just kind of had everything, audio and visual. And Radio Shack somehow has migrated and taken over my bedroom, which my wife is super excited about when she gets up at night to go get a glass of water and trips over a tripod. There's some choice words that sometimes come out of her mouth while I'm over there sawing logs on the bed. But like I said, it's been amazing having everybody come in here, literally into my bedroom, and share their stories and be vulnerable. And I can't believe the outpouring of support. In the short time we've been here, I've had 7,000 people either watch the YouTube channel or listen to the podcast, which, that's Joe Rogan's podcast in about 24 hours. But I'm just Yuma Barnett from Pie Town, New Mexico. And to think that 7,000 plus people listen to me talk to people for the last 6 months is it's very humbling. It's amazing. And I can't thank you guys enough. And that equals around 900 hours of listening to me, which, ask my wife, that's hard to do, to listen to me for 25 minutes, much less 900 hours. But thankfully I had some great guests that took some of that time as well. 200 plus subscribers between the podcast and the YouTube channel, and that, like I said, those are small numbers when you look at some of the stuff that's out there, right? 200 subscribers happens in an hour for some of these YouTube channels. But for me, 200 people was more people than I had in my entire school, K through 12th grade growing up. So thanks for sticking in. Thanks for listening. It's only going to get better. I promise it's going to get better. We have some big things coming in the near future. I'm not ready to share it yet, but my next podcast will hopefully not be in this bedroom, and that's about the only hint that I'll give you as we move forward into 2022. And I hope the episodes to come, whether I have a guest or it's just me up here talking, that it'll impact somebody. And reach out to me if you think I should get somebody on the podcast, or if you yourself want to go on here and share a story. Let's do it. Let's figure out a way to do it. And I'm looking forward to 2022 outside of the uniform to see, what kind of impact we can make on people's lives and make them better. So bring it on. And let's get 2022 started and it off with a bang. And I can't say it enough. I love you guys. I am super grateful for my patrons that donate that little $10 a month. That is going to be the catalyst for me getting out of the corner of the bedroom here and into something a little different, hopefully by next week. It makes a difference, I promise. And to some of you out there, you know who you are, that have given very generously to this platform. There's more equipment, more of that Radio Shack in here, helping me give you the best product I can because of those generous donations. And I can't thank you enough. Like I've said in the beginning, everything you give to this podcast goes right back into it, so we can bring the best stories that we can and hopefully impact people's lives. But I just say again, I look straight into this camera as if I was talking to one of my patrons or one of you guys that gave to me or text me or call me, and I say thank you. I really appreciate it. And I usually save my thank yous for the end, but I think it's appropriate to start it up front to just say thanks to all you out there that have supported this venture. And I can't wait to get on to 2022 and see what it has in store for us. So with that, let's transition to what we're going to talk about in today's podcast. It's the first episode of 2022. It's exciting. I'm a week late, as I said, but here we go. And we're going to talk about that gratitude. We're going to talk about that community and family and all that up front after what I've gone through in the last week. And that's what I'll start with, up front, is just that reflection and that gratitude as I went out. So some of you know, and some of you don't know, that last week, like I mentioned, my mom got COVID pneumonia. It got pretty scary there for a second. We didn't know which way it was going to go. And, my family, my two brothers and my sister, the four of us, we are terrible about communicating to each other. And if it's bad news, we're definitely not communicating it to each other. So we waited, my sister, who out there taking care of my mom, and my brother, they waited about as long as they could to tell us, my brother and I, who both live here in South Georgia, to, you better get on an airplane and come to New Mexico. So, when my brother Tuffy, and his name is Tuffy, which is a whole nother story, who doesn't have a lot to say sometimes, when he says, hey, Yuma, get on a plane and get out here and help your mom, you stop whatever you're doing and you move to help out. So flew out there. And when I first walked in and I saw my mom sitting there, it scared the hell out of me. I never came to this. My mom, in my mind, is still 40 years old, and I'm 40 years old, right? And it was just a shock to see her in that state, struggling for oxygen, and really just truly not knowing if she was gonna make it. Um, it was scary. It was very scary when I heard my mom say, Yuma, I'm not ready to die. And my mom is very steadfast and in a better place than most people when it comes to her relationship with the Lord. And if anybody's ready to die and go take their place in heaven, it's my mom. So to hear her say that was eye-opening for me, because it means she still had something she wanted to do. And she said something to me and my brothers and sisters while we were there that really kind of resonated. And she said, I'm not ready to die because my house is not in order. And that struck me, right? Saying her house is not in order, because when you look at it, you think everything's in order, but she still had some things to do, get a will, and what are we going to do with the land in New Mexico and all that stuff that we in our family, we just don't like talking about. We don't like talking about stuff. And for her to say that, it just gave all of us, my brother and my sister, a little extra push that we needed to help her and stay up those long nights and monitor her vitals and make sure she was doing all the things she needed to get through the pneumonia. And I think, thankfully, with the grace of God and with the help of some amazing people who came out and helped, I think we got her over the hump, and she's going to make a recovery. But it was rough. And in those long nights that I had there setting up with Mom, I was able to walk around her house there and look at the pictures and some of the artifacts that were there in the house. And I say artifacts intentionally, because they really are artifacts, right? They're things that are made by people that hold special meaning or value. And in those artifacts, some of you may have saw it, I found a set of spurs, of old cowboy spurs. I found an old wooden box, very old wooden box with intricate dovetail, in it where it was put together. And I found a few other things around, a picture of my grandpa, my mom's mom, who was a cowboy in every sense of the word, cowboy. And my mom was laying there resting, and I put all these artifacts together and I just took some pictures. And I didn't really know the significance of those artifacts at the time when I was doing it, because my mom was asleep. But when she woke up, I was again putting grandpa's spurs back, and I didn't know they were grandpa's at the time. I didn't know whose they were. My mom said, those are my dad's spurs. And she was very proud. She perked up a little bit when she said that. Those are my dad's spurs. And I asked her, I said, what's that wooden box over there that I also use? And she said, well, that's where all the letters from grandpa to grandma are over the years. And my sister was in the room, and she goes, there's some beautifully written letters in there. And my grandpa, who served in World War II, I think one of my aunts said every letter from 1941 to 1945 is in that box, which is pretty amazing when you think about it, that they saved it for all those years. And back to, I said my grandpa was a cowboy in every sense of the word. That's one thing he did in World War II was he trained the Allies on how to run pack mule trains, resupply over there for the Allied forces. Among other things, I wish I knew more about his story. I know he did that. I know he got sick and went to the hospital for something, and the day after he got out of the hospital, that hospital was bombed. So, when you look back on your own life and your own existence, it's interesting to see the chain of events that lead to you being here, right? Because if that bomb had hit that hospital, I wouldn't be here, right? And the things that just don't happen by chance. A higher power of some kind, in my mind, helped and made sure, Grandpa made it out of there and made it back to New Mexico to be with Grandma. Just amazing things to see, amazing stories to talk about. And that's where I'll just tell you, as the listener, in this fast paced life that we all live in, it can be easy to just walk past those artifacts, right? And not look at them and not ask the questions. Whether it's a photo or a set of old Spurs or an old F-350 pickup truck that's parked out behind the barn, which had a story to it. It's important to stop and look at those artifacts. And as I was sitting there watching my mom struggle to breathe, it made me reflect on my own life in the past 20 years of craziness that I've been a part of as I rotated in and out of Afghanistan and on the training, all the training I did and all the late nights and early mornings at work. I missed a lot of things and a lot of abilities and a lot of chances to create artifacts for my kids going forward. And, I kind of made a goal with myself there at that time. Is I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to be intentional about creating these artifacts and having stuff for my kids to hold on to and tell a story to their kids, because it's important. And if you think back to when my grandpa was alive in the 40s and 50s, it was just a little slower then, and they did more things intentionally and have those memories and actually built things with their hands that were handed down through generations. And I hope to do that a little bit more now going forward, and I hope that you all too. But I just something that stuck in my mind as I was walking around my mom's house there, looking at all that and knowing that I've missed some opportunity in my life to create some artifacts for my family and my kids. And going forward, I'm gonna go about hopefully doing that and being more intentional about making those artifacts and those memories for my own kids and my own family. So I hope you guys do the same thing. I hope you can get your house in order, so that if the worst does happen at any time, it's your family doesn't have to deal with something that's out of order, right? Because that's not something you want to do. But as we go into 2022, that's that's kind of the reflection piece, right? Started with the gratitude. Thank you guys, thank everybody who's got me through the Army the last 20 years. Reflection, looking at those artifacts, hearing the stories about my grandpa, my grandma. Reflection is super important. You don't want to dwell in the past, but it's good to know where you come from, because it can sometimes show you where you're going, or at least change direction if you're going in a bad place and put you in the right place. But in the spirit of the new year, the next step would probably be about preparation, right? What are you going to do from this point forward to be better? What am I going to do from this point forward to be more prepared as we head into 2022? And I don't mean the shallow New Year's resolutions of I'm going to lose 5 pounds, even though I could probably manage losing 5 pounds and be all right with it. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna quit drinking coffee. I'm gonna give up on the sweets. Those are great things, but they're not tangible. They're not something that's going to create an artifact to carry forward. What are you going to do in 2022 to really make a change in your life or in the life of someone else, or take a chance on yourself, right? Taking a chance on yourself to be better, or do something that you never thought you would do, and trying to set that example for somebody. So here we go. I'll tell you what I'm going to do going into 2022 to hopefully be a better father, a better husband, a better former Ranger, a better civilian, that I can be there to help people. So first thing I've made what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a chance on myself, right? And there'll be more of that story to follow. But my former Sergeant Major, Brett Johnson at 3rd Battalion, who I've known for years, tells a story about on his alarm clock, when it goes off in the morning, it says 1 shot, meaning you only get 1 shot at that day to make it count. And it's actually beyond that. You only get 1 shot at this life to make it count. And I don't want to look back in 10 years, 30 years and go, I wish I had. I want to look back and say, I'm glad I did and failed, or I'm glad I did and succeeded. but I do not want to look back and say I wish I had. So that's what I'm going to do. First thing in 2022 is I'm going to take a shot on Yuma. I'm going to take a shot on myself. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll at least know that I did it. I tried it. I tried to take a shot on me, right? The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create, don't compete. And I get that from the mentor of mine who's been on the podcast. You guys have heard Don Barden. I reference that a lot when I write posts on LinkedIn or Facebook. And when you really think about it, create, don't compete. It's very relevant to society today. Everybody is competing with somebody else, right? To get more followers. The more TikTok followers, especially in our younger generation, the more Instagram followers, the more likes. They're competing. They want more, right? But they're not focusing as much as they should on just create. I always used to tell the guys that worked for me and the girls, don't worry about the job that you don't have. Worry about the job that you do have, and the next job will take care of itself. Because I used to have a lot of younger Rangers always looking, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go be a dog handler. I'm going to go be a sniper. I'm going to go to the recce platoon. And I'd say, well, you've been a team leader for all of 6 days. How about you go be a good team leader, and the rest of it will fall in place and take care of itself. But don't start to already changing your focus when you're not even mastered the job that you're already in. So I'm going to create more. I'm not going to compete. I'm not going to, competition is very big in the culture that I come from out of the Army. We are an eat our own culture. We will look at somebody that writes a book or says something or starts a podcast, and we'll say, nah, he shouldn't be doing that, or she shouldn't be doing that, shouldn't be saying that. But when you actually talk to them, you'll say, hey, have you ever listened to the podcast? Have you ever read that book? 7 times out of 10, the answer is no. They're just, they're scared of themselves. They're scared to take a chance on themselves, so they take that out on other people. And I've been guilty of that. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to create. I'm not going to compete. And I am going to celebrate in other people's victories with them. I want people to be successful and have the greatest lives that they can have. I'm going to try not to stay mad and dwell on the bad things. I just got a rejection email from a job that I applied for a couple months ago, actually, for some leadership development with the company. And in years past, it would have eaten me alive. Wanted to know why. Why not? I'm qualified. Did they take the time to actually get to know me? Today, I just kind of said, okay, that's good to know. And I didn't have any jealousy or envy or anger to whoever said no to me, because maybe it's not for me, right? It's not in my control. I need to quit trying to control everything and just create and don't compete. I need to worry about the job I do have, and the next job I think will take care of itself. So that's the number 2. I'm going to create. I'm not going to compete. Thank you, Don Barden, for your book and your wisdom in that area. And I'm going to celebrate other people's victories, which is number 3. I'm not going to be, it says it right here. I wrote it here. I will celebrate when others are victorious. And again, that's just something that's culturally where I came from in the military, sports at a high level. Sometimes you don't celebrate with others when they are victorious, or even when you have victory yourself, you will not celebrate the victory. You will only focus on what went wrong, or in my case, the free throws that I didn't make in the game instead of the 30 points I did score. Or if you're in the military, you'll focus on, the guy that you did lose in combat, but you won't focus on the other thousands that you saved and brought home. It's not saying you shouldn't think about and honor that person that you lost, but don't spend so much time in it. Celebrate victory. Celebrate victory when you have victory personally, and celebrate in other people's victory. I've seen culturally where we have had people leave the Army, go be super successful. And when you get behind closed doors with some other people, the first thing they do is they start throwing stones and saying, this guy is, he was actually never really that good a leader. He was lucky. Why? What good does it do anybody? You're creating a bad atmosphere for yourself. You're talking about somebody behind their back. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I've been guilty of it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to celebrate when people are successful. And when they aren't successful, I'm going to reach out and say, do you need something? Do you need some help? Because that's what we should be doing. And what I have done in the past, but I've gone the other way before too. And that's just part of being honest with yourself and being self-critical. So that's it. I'm going to celebrate. And that takes it right to the next one. I will enjoy the moment and be intentional about collecting and observing the artifacts that will have significance in my life now and in the future lives of my family and kids and friends. Like I said, we are in a 100-mile-an-hour society. We're always looking for something bigger, faster, stronger that can get us what we need sooner. Faster is not always best. In a lot of cases, it is not best. If you think about the military, and what we do, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It's actually better to slow down and make sure you get it right than to speed up and get it wrong. And I think we do that a lot as people, people from my background, A-type personalities, people who are competing and not creating. They're not intentional about collecting and observing those artifacts. And being in the moment and celebrating somebody else's victories and being there when somebody else loses. And I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to slow down a little bit this year. I'm going to be intentional about what I do. I'm going to be calculated. I'm going to move fast when I have to. But I am going to be more deliberate about stepping back every once in a while and smelling the roses or taking the picture or asking the question, hey, Mom, where did that box come from? Because if I didn't ask the question, I would have never known that was my grandma and my grandpa's whole life was in that box, which is pretty amazing. I hope to go back someday soon and read some of those letters from them. But I need to start creating some of those artifacts. And the first thing I do is slow down and enjoy the moment. Enjoy the kids. We just started a new, I say tradition. I don't think if you've done it for 2 days, it can be a tradition. But at the dinner table, I ask a question. I asked today, if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? It's always interesting when you ask those questions of kids that are 5, 6, 3. Maverick, he's going to buy a big truck. Jackson, very proud of him. He's going to invest in property. He's growing up. He's listening to his dad. Kate's going to buy us an island, which I'm pretty excited about. Darby, she's going to buy a big Pop-It, which is just a fidget toy, that you pop. So she's questionable on what she's going to do there, but that's okay. But just I'm going to start making different things a priority in my life going forward. And I hope you all do the same. I hope you stay with me on this journey through the next year. It's going to be an awesome time, an awesome year. I'll be back next week with a guest. I hope. If not, you're going to hear me talk to you again. I need feedback. I need feedback from you, from topics I should cover to people I should bring in. I appreciate it. I need it. I'll see you in 2022, and it's going to be better than ever. Signing off. Later.